Well, that's a bit of a hard act to follow, but I'll do my best. So I'm going to talk about the future of renewable energy and clean technology. Let me ask a quick question. How many of you saw the segment on 60 Minutes a few weeks ago called the CleanTech Crash? It's received quite a bit of attention in the industry. The industry wasn't very happy about it, as you might imagine, just by the title of the segment. What I'm going to talk about is whether, in fact, there really has been a clean tech crash. And what I'm really going to talk about is how what we've seen over the last few years with the renewable energy and clean technology industry is really very similar to what we've seen with virtually every other technology boom, particularly the dot-com boom from 15 years ago. And I'm also going to talk about the 4 factors that are really going to determine where this industry goes over the next 10, 20, 50, 100 years. Those 4 factors are consumer adoption, private investment, government support, and the pace of technology advance. And Peter Diamantis' presentation earlier actually foreshadowed some of the things I'm going to talk about. So let's talk about where we've been over the last 5 years. In fact, there really has been a boom and a crash, and it's very similar to what happened in the dot-com industry 15 years ago. In the years leading up to the Obama administration, Silicon Valley, the venture capital firms, other private investors were pumping huge amounts of money into the clean tech and renewable energy sectors. Solar panel manufacturers, biofuel companies, energy efficiency companies, all sorts of companies that were developing products and technologies and services in the renewable energy and clean technology space. We're seeing massive investment from the private sector. Add to that the stimulus package that Obama put in place when he took office, and what you had was sort of a perfect storm of both public and private money flowing into the sector. So not surprisingly, we had an enormous boom back in 2009, 2010, 2011. The industry went crazy. A lot of people refer to that period as the froth, and we really saw the same thing 15 years ago in the dot-com industry, okay? Tremendous amounts of money flowing into the space, lots of excitement, and frankly, a lot of smart people investing money that they should have known better than to invest. So what happened was a lot of money went into companies that really shouldn't have been capitalized. And that's what always happens in that phase of a boom. The other thing that happened, and so with the venture capital business, the window on those investments are 3 to 5 years. So a venture capital company puts $5 or $10 million into a company, they expect to see an exit of some sort in 3 to 5 years. Well, that wasn't happening. So all of these VC firms that put all this money into the clean tech and renewable energy sector back in 2008, 2010, they weren't seeing the returns that they needed on those investments. At the same time, we started seeing these spectacular flops, and probably the most notorious one was Solyndra. For those of you who haven't heard of Solyndra, Solyndra was a solar manufacturer based up in the Bay Area. I think actually they were in Fremont, and they received $500 million in stimulus money and promptly went bankrupt and left the taxpayers holding the bag. A lot of other companies that received tremendous amounts of federal government money also went belly up. A123 and Abound Solar and a bunch of others. And between the VC firms not getting returns on their investments and these high-profile flops of companies that received all this federal money, it's not surprising that we sort of peaked and went down the trough. And that's what we've been doing for the last 2 or 3 years. The private sector has just totally closed the spigot on private money flowing into the sector. That's starting to change. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Needless to say, the government money is gone. There's not going to be a second stimulus, and the money that was allocated has more or less been distributed. And so that's what the crash has really been all about. So where are we now, and where are we going to be moving forward? And again, I want to talk about this really through 4 different lenses or prisms that are really the 4 factors that are going to affect where we're going. Consumer adoption, private investment, government support, and the pace of technological advancement. Let's talk about consumer adoption first. Let's talk about electric cars. You see a lot of Priuses on the road out here. That's not the case in the rest of the country. There have actually been only 150,000 electric vehicles sold per year over the last couple of years, and that's actually below a lot of analysts' expectations. And And the problem really has been just consumer fears about where are the charging stations going to be, and is my garage going to catch fire because the charging system doesn't work properly, and you know, those things are legitimate issues. Another interesting topic in the consumer adoption area is the idea of smart meters. If you don't know what a smart meter is, basically a smart meter is a new type of electric meter that you would have on your house that would essentially be a form of digital communication. The utility would actually be able to monitor your energy usage moment to moment, and you also would be able to monitor your energy usage moment to moment. Well, that makes a lot of sense, and I'll talk a little bit about that later when we talk about technology. The problem is that there's been sort of a big brother backlash where people don't like the fact that a utility or the government might be able to tell exactly how much electricity they're using at any given moment, and God forbid someday tell them how much electricity to use at any moment. So there's been a big backlash against smart meters. I'm going to come back to that in a little bit. That being said, and again, particularly here in California, that we are seeing pretty good consumer adoption in the area of home automation of electricity usage, smart appliances, smart meters. The bottom line is we now are basically available to control our electrical usage and control our appliances remotely. There are apps that you can put in your cell phone, and there are smart appliances and home automation systems that are, I think, ultimately going to revolutionize the way we use electricity and manage our electrical use in our home. And again, I'll come back to that a little bit later when we talk about technology. So consumer adoption is a huge issue, and we continue to experience resistance in a lot of important areas when it comes to consumer adoption. Another good example is incandescent light bulbs. There's no question that incandescent light bulbs are really inefficient, they use way too much electricity, and they don't last nearly as long as the solutions that are now in effect. The government had to pass a law to actually outlaw incandescent bulbs because people just didn't want to spend $9 for a light bulb when they could spend 50 cents, even when you explained to them that the $9 bulb was going to last 20 times longer, and so it was going to actually save the money over time. So that's the consumer adoption issue. The private investment issue I already touched on. A lot of smart people lost a lot of money in renewable energy and clean technology over the last 10 years, and the government lost a tremendous amount of money in renewable energy and clean technology over the last few years. That's the bad news. The good news is, like in any technology boom where you have the boom and then the bust, there's this correction period where you've kind of flushed out a lot of the technologies that don't work and the companies that shouldn't have been capitalized to begin with, and you enter into sort of the maturing stage of an industry where you have a more stable growth, and the companies that really have products and services and technologies that are viable survive and grow, and again, the industry matures. The other interesting that were happening from the private investment standpoint, though, is corporate strategic investment. So whereas venture capital firms dominated the investment in clean technology and renewable energy 5-10 years ago, it's now corporate strategic investment. GE, Siemens, Toshiba, the big companies like that are essentially outsourcing their R&D. They recognize the need to develop technologies in these areas, and what they find is that it's actually cheaper and more efficient to, instead of try to do that in-house, they find companies that are in the space that they're interested in, and they start investing in those companies, and in many cases ultimately acquire those companies. And some of the biggest mergers and acquisitions that have occurred in the last few years have been in the clean technology, and particularly the information technology segment of the clean tech space. And I'm going to come back to that in a few minutes when I talk about technology, because in my opinion, the intersection of IT and clean technology and the utility industry and the energy industry are really one of the most exciting things going on right now, and will continue to go on in the future. Okay, that brings us to government support. I've already talked about the stimulus package and how that pumped a tremendous amount of money into the clean tech and renewable energy space and helped create the boom, and how the end of that money flow from the government helped cause the crash. Okay, so what do we do now? The federal government has supported almost every important industry in its early phases, the fossil fuels and automobile and aviation. So there really isn't any question that the federal government has to support the renewable energy and the clean technology industry. We're competing in a global economy. China is battling us dollar for dollar every year to see who's going to invest more money into renewable energy and clean technology. And lately, they've been winning that battle, and they've got some big advantages. Frankly, it's a lot more inexpensive to manufacture things in China than it is to make them here. So it's very difficult for a solar panel manufacturer to base itself in the United States and compete with a Chinese solar manufacturer. The cost of labor and the cost of environmental compliance makes it prohibitive. By the way, that's largely what happened to Solyndra. Solyndra thought that people would want to buy their panels even though they were much more expensive than what you could get in China. Didn't work out that way. So the government has to support these industries. The question is how? And really the stimulus package was sort of an aberration. The amount of money that flowed into that sector in such a short period of time, and more importantly, the way that that money was allocated, with the government basically trying to pick winners as if they were venture capital firms, well, you could have predicted where it was going to go. Some of those companies are going to fail, and if you can find any connections between those failed companies and the administration, you start running into these accusations of cronyism. Okay? Anytime the government distributes billions and billions and billions of dollars, there's going to be accusations of cronyism. So nobody should have been surprised by that. The problem is, where do we go from here? How does the government support renewable energy and clean technology going forward? Well, one way is to become a massive consumer of renewable energy, and that's going on right now. The military, in particular, has a very, very aggressive program to develop and implement renewable energy sources, and it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense for our military to be more energy self-sufficient. So I think we're going to see the federal government continue to support renewable energy and clean technology, but we're going to see it in slightly different ways. I don't think we're going to see the type of grant programs and loan programs that we saw with the stimulus program. Okay, so let's now finally, I've got about 3 minutes left, let's talk about technology innovation. And Peter Diamandis talked about this earlier. We've got this incredible curve that we've been experiencing now over the last 100 years of technology advancement. And, you know, we've seen it most strikingly in telecommunications and computers. Okay? Who could have predicted 20 years ago that literally every high school student would have a handheld device that would give them access to virtually all the information known to mankind? There was just no way anybody could have predicted that. So, you know, to sit here and try to predict what technology is going to do to the energy and utility industry is a bit of a fool's errand. So I'm not going to try to do that, but I will talk about what I think will be the areas where we'll see technology affecting it the most. And I touched on this a little bit earlier. The energy and the utility industry have been incredibly slow to adopt information technology into their processes. The utility industry in particular. Utilities tend to have really outdated computer systems and IT systems. It's actually kind of scary how outdated some of those systems are. But what we've seen over the last 5 or 10 years is sort of a shift in attitude at the utilities. And so one of the areas where we're seeing tremendous growth in the clean tech sector is the IT element of the utility industry. It's what we call the smart grid. And for those of you who don't really know what that is, we're talking about basically digitizing our entire electrical grid, turning the electrical grid into a digital communication system as much as a system for transmitting electricity. So there are companies that are developing sensors and all sorts of information technology products and technologies and services that are going to completely change the way the electrical grid works in this country and the way we consume energy. And I touched on this a little bit earlier. The technology already exists for us to turn our appliances off and on with our phone or our desktop computer. We're going to have the ability to actually see the electrical rates that we're paying on a minute-to-minute basis and make decisions in what appliances we're using and how much air conditioning we're using on a minute-to-minute basis. The technology already exists. And we've literally just barely scratched the surface with that. So I think what we're going to see from a technology standpoint is technology advances that completely change the way we manage our personal electrical usage in our homes, both the way we use our appliances, the way we use our thermostats, and the way we interact with our utility. So literally just ran out of time. I think I was supposed to allow one question. Does anyone have a question? Okay, well, thanks.
Thanks so much, Greg.